Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another week, another Warrior Mode right here with me, Kev Baker, Travis Short, and the spiritual warrior himself, Mr. Bill Bean. And do we have an amazing show lined up for you today? I have to thank Bill for putting this one together. I haven't actually been able to sleep much overnight with some butterflies and excitement, but they've all gone out the window now, Bill, because we've finally got to speak to today's guest. And wow, brother, brilliant work in managing to get somebody of this ilk to come on to our humble little show here. And not only that, the bonus is he's an absolutely awesome guy as well. So, Bill, really looking forward to this week's Warrior Mode, sir.
I'm with you, Kev. I've really been looking forward to this, and just amazing how God kind of brings things around, and something that was unexpected has now come around full circle. And I agree with you. Our guest is top notch.
Absolutely. And Travis, we're going to let Bill do the honours and bring today's guest in a moment. But you're in total fanboy mode. You've been very quiet for a change.
How can you not be?
I know.
How can you not be in total fanboy mode?
I get it. It's just it's quite disturbing to hear you so quiet. That's how I know that definitely something has changed this week. And Bill, to come back to you, I mean, let's waste no time. Let's get the man himself in here. Who have we got with us this week, Bill?
Well, we have got one of the world's greatest drummers. Not only am I a fan of this guy, but, I've been listening to him for all these years, and he's done it all. This guy played for 30 years with Billy Joel, who's one of the top-selling pop artists of all time. He's played on 22 of 20 out of 23 of Billy's hit songs. He's played with other artists. He's world-renowned. He is the legendary drummer, Liberty Devitto. And Liberty, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, it's great to be here. And as a matter of fact, during this pandemic, it's great to be anywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, this is wonderful. Like we were talking about your guitars behind you. You guys, you all play. Travis, do you play something?
I do not. I have absolutely no talent whatsoever in any form or fashion. Now,
so then you must appreciate music more than anybody else.
I have a great love of music. My dad played guitar growing up. Actually, we go to sleep every night with him playing either a Willie Nelson or a Waylon Jennings song while I was in bed. I had night terrors and anxiety, so he would sing that to get me to sleep. So.
Beautiful. How about you, Kev? You play something?
I am not musical at all. It skipped a generation. My mum, she's a very good country western singer. She plays the guitar as well. So I know she's watching right now. She'll be on the edge of her seat. Another big fan of yours, Lib. And I'm over here in Glasgow. And this is one of the rougher cities in the UK. And it got me thinking because I believe that you yourself are born and bred in Brooklyn. And I was going to ask you what it was like growing up in Brooklyn and compared to what Brooklyn's like now.
Well, I have to be honest with you. I was born in Brooklyn, but my father became a New York City policeman, and he moved us to Long Island, which wasn't, we moved about 50 miles away from Brooklyn just because he didn't like the way it was. But during that time when my dad was a cop, it was like, it was insane. Because, he used to tell me stories about like how when Castro came to visit in the 60s, and he said he couldn't believe it. They were up in the hotel and they were cooking chickens in the sink, stuff like that, because they were so behind in Cuba that this is what they did. And today, living in Brooklyn, there's such a mishmash of cultures in Brooklyn. I can walk down the street and I can hear 5 different languages before I get to the end of the block.
Yeah.
And some of the people bring what they know from their land, they bring it to Brooklyn, especially their driving habits. They bring it to Brooklyn. Like when I go to, you go to Jamaica or something like that, and they hold the horn down all the time. They get, they do it here too, and it drives us insane, you know. So that part of it is so interesting to me because it is so alive with different cultures, and you know, it's a fabulous place to live right now.
You know, it's amazing as Liberty's describing that, and I've been to Brooklyn many times over the last several years. And as he's describing it, I'm seeing it in my head and reliving some things as you're describing it, Lib. So, wow, yeah, it is an amazing place.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, you know, not far from here is the whole Hasidic Jew section where the Hasidic Jewish people live, and you see them with the big curls and everything like that. And then you go a couple of blocks, and there's the Arabs, you know, the women all covered up and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people from Africa now, and you could hear their accent as they're talking on the phone. I have no idea what they're saying, but they're like really serious African talk, you know, and then, of course, that translates to the food. Yeah. You can get any kind of food you want, you know.
Yeah. That is for sure.
And Billy B, next time you come to Brooklyn, you got to give me a call, man. We're going.
Oh, I'm going to, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Then we're going to jam. I can't wait for that. That'll be a dream come true, jamming with this guy right here. I mean, it's be amazing.
Before you start a new band with Bill Bean, I can see it in the offing, right? I mean, you're growing up there. What was it that really ignited the fire beneath you when it came to music? What really got you into that, sir?
Well, I always loved music growing up. As a matter of fact, when I was like, all this stuff I'm telling you is in the book, but when I was like 8 years old, I used to mow lawns on Long Island. You know, you'd get a corner house, and for $2, you'd mow the entire lawn. And I would go to, in our town, we had a pet shop that sold the top 20 45s. And I would buy these records. You know, the first record I ever bought was, what the heck was the name of it? It's by the Monotones, and it's called The Book of Love. That's what it was called. Yeah,
I remember that.
And so I was always into music. Now, the way I got the drums was my father knew that a cousin of mine was selling drums because he was getting a new set. So my father offered to buy them. So, you know, one day drums showed up in my house. So later on in my career, I had asked my father, why did you get drums for me? And he said, because they didn't make Prozac when you were a kid. So, so I joined the sixth grade school band, right? And I couldn't do the buzz roll in the Star Spangled Banner. So the teacher told me, put the sticks down, DeVito, you'll never do anything with the drums. You know, he put me on the bass drum. Boom. You know, you hit the bass drum maybe 4 times in an orchestra piece.
And I still couldn't even do that.
Yeah. So I got very discouraged, you know. But I kept my love for music, you know, and I would just sit around and just fool around on the drum set a little bit. But, of course, like millions of other people, February of 1964, when the Beatles played on the Ed Sullivan Show here in America, I pointed at the TV set and I said, that's what I want to do. I don't care about the buzz roll in the Star Spangled Banner. I want to tour the world with my friends and have fun doing it. And that's what really ignited, you know, the whole thing. The next day, everybody in my town was starting bands. Even though they didn't play instruments, they got one and they just started a band. Yeah. It was
quite
insane.
Amazing, you know, Bill, when you think about that. I mean, the influence, and even up until this day, that the Beatles have had on multiple generations now, you know?
There's been so many people, and when you read, you know, as you know, I read anything and everything. And in some of these books, you hear other artists like Liberty say the same thing. It all changed when I saw the Beatles, you know, and then I knew that's what I wanted to do. I will say this, no disrespect to Ringo, but Liberty passed him up by leaps and bounds in the talent area and the ability and capabilities to do what he does. Just amazing. So, Liv, that must make you feel good in the sense that, you followed along with one of your heroes and that your dream became a reality, but also in reality, and this is no slight to Ringo, how can you not call him great, being a part of, you know, the greatest rock and roll band ever. But talent-wise, Liberty, just amazing. And what's even more amazing, and I'm sure he'll get into this, is that he is self-taught. So For me, I respect that even more because as a guitarist, I'm self-taught also. And it's more difficult when you take that road. So I have tremendous respect for Liberty in that he came so far in being self-taught.
Well, when people ask me about Ringo, like, what do I think of Ringo? And I always say, like, you always hear about, oh, that guy, he paved the road for us to do what we do. Ringo did not pave the road for me. Ringo knocked down the trees, bared the forest, dug up the road, all the soil, then he paved the road, and I got on it.
Yeah.
That's what Ringo did for us. There was a lot of people before that, like there were studio musicians, though, like Hal Blaine and a bunch of guys from New Jersey that played with the Four Seasons and all those guys, what's his name? Panama Francis played on The Wanderer by Dion, but nobody knows who they are. Beatles came out, everybody knew who Ringo was.
Yeah, you're right.
It was like, this was an amazing thing. But I got to be fair that sitting and watching the TV in February, watching the Ed Sullivan Show, they could have came from outer space. First of all, nobody knew where Liverpool was on the map. You couldn't find it on the map if you looked for it. They looked so different. Their hair was long. They wore these funny-looking suits. I mean, what were we looking at? They had these accents that were like unbelievable. Like yours, Kev. Like yours,
a little bit like mine. You know what's quite amazing? I talk about synchronicities and things a lot like that on the show. And I believe when it comes to the Beatles and Ringo and all of them, there's a synchronicity with you later on in life as well, because it must have been like a dream come true. I believe you got to play the Cavern Club, right?
I did. I did a tour with Billy J Kramer, who was signed to Brian Epstein at the same time that the Beatles were. And the Beatles actually wrote his first 4 hits. He did a song called Bad to Me, which was written by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. He also did I Call Your Name and Do You Want to Know a Secret before the Beatles actually recorded them.
Wow.
And he had a hit with I Want to Know a Secret, #1 hit in England. So, yeah, we played the Cavern Club. We played Glasgow on that tour. And it was just a tremendous thing. And to hear the stories from somebody who was with the Beatles and hung out with them. They were his friends,
Yeah, it must be quite surreal.
It's
yeah, that'd be surreal. Yeah, for anyone. So, Bill, I've totally derailed all the questions that you had set out and everything else. You know me, I go organic, brother. And
Liberty said the same thing when we were in our discussions back and forth. It'll be what it'll be. We just let it happen. I had a whole list of questions. I sent questions over to him. I just wanted to make sure that he was okay with some of the things that we were going to ask. And, he's just basically said the same thing that you said. So we're organic. We'll let it happen as it happens. And so far, it's been great dialogue.
Yeah.
So what happened? What happened in between you? Kind of
friends talking. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right, Liv. That's the way I see it.
So you see the Beatles. It gives you the inspiration. Talk to us about how you got into the music scene. I mean, how do you go from there to being recognized as a drummer? It can't be easy.
No, it wasn't easy. Now, before Bill mentioned that I was self-taught. Yeah, because when the Beatles came out and I said, yeah, that's what I want to do, my mother said, why don't you go take some lessons? And there was a music store down the block. And so I went in there and he was teaching me jazz, and I was like, I don't want to learn this. I want to, play like Ringo. Teach me how to play like Ringo. And he said, what do you want to play like Ringo for? He stinks, So I had to learn myself. Records became my books. I would put on the stereo or the record player, and I'd put on a set of headphones or blast the record player really loud when my parents weren't home, and I would play along with the song. But I found myself getting lost in the song because I didn't know where I was. Wasn't reading music and everything like that. So to fix that, I said to myself, I'm going to learn the lyrics to the song and I'm going to sing along with it so I know where I am in the song, right? So while I'm doing that, now I'm playing the drum part and I'm singing along with the song. And I'm realizing, like, holy cow, Ringo does a drum fill when the singer stops singing. or Ringo did a drum fill to take the band into a more exciting part, like the chorus or the bridge of the song. So I actually adapted that and took that into the studio with Billy Joel. And when the other guys were getting the sheet music and the notes and all that kind of stuff, I would ask Billy for his lyrics because I want to know what he's singing about, because that is going to dictate what I'm going to play. You know, if it's a beautiful love song like Just the Way You Are, I'm going to take it easy.
Yep.
If it's a song like Big Shot where you're putting somebody down, I'm going for it. You know, so it was important to me to learn that way by learning the lyrics.
And that's what gives him the extra gear, Kev, in my opinion, as somebody that, you know, I'm not great at anything. You'd never hear me say anything about myself, but God bless me with a little bit of knowing of music and to be able to play it and hear it. And that's what I hear in your playing, Liberty, is that you don't just play it. And this is what's missing a lot, certainly of today's music. You have this, it's almost like a psychic type of sense to where you're feeling the music and you're translating that through your feeling and you're accenting that, and that gives it that extra, that's something extra in the music.
Yeah, it's called passion. You need to have it. I don't care what you do. Now, I know you're a minister and you have passion for what you do.
Yeah.
And you get up there, and when people hear you preach, I'm sure they walk out of there and go, wow, I was blown away. He had such passion. Yeah, he had such passion for what he's doing. That's what happens when a musician plays and you see the passion as they're playing like this is the last time I'm ever going to play, and then I'm going to just go lay in a coffin and die. You know.
It's amazing. It's an amazing gift, Liberty. It really is, because again, I've listened to 100 other drummers. Some have it and some don't have that. Right. And they're still very good and very skilled, but they don't have that extra gear to be able to really, it's like your drums are speaking.
Yeah.
And it is adding in. And again, no slight against Billy Joel now. I think he's a brilliant, genius type of guy. However, I don't listen to his music anymore. And what's missing from his music is this guy right here and the ability to speak through his drums to add to that music.
Well, you know what else was a benefit of having to learn myself was, and I couldn't read music. So I couldn't, if I heard a song that I really liked what the drummer was doing, I couldn't get the sheet music and read exactly what he was doing. I'd have to listen and try to copy what the drummer was doing. Rarely did I ever get it spot on, but it became my style of how I approached to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I was playing it wrong, but it was something that I was creating.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Time.
Well, I think, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bill.
No, Travis, you go ahead. You got to get in here.
I'm enjoying listening. I'm enjoying the feedback. But I think exactly what you said and the way that Liberty chose the term passion, I do think that's what makes a difference between an entertainer and a performer and a professional musician that is using that tool that they have. And Liberty, just real quickly, my day job when I'm not hanging out with these two is I manage 3 radio stations in Kentucky. I've got a classic hit station, a country station, and a top 40 station.
Oh, fantastic.
So I want to ask you this question because my 2 on-air guys, we had this discussion the other day. I do think that what we see with music today is a lack of passion by the performers. They're entertaining and they're putting on a show, but that love and that passion of the music and what they're doing, I think is missing. And I think that's why, and this was my question to you, I got asked, do I think that music that is in the top 40s today in 2020, are those songs going to be considered classics 20 years from now?
I don't think so. I know you really have to dig deep on the internet to find, there's good music out there, and there's musicians that are still doing it, young guys that are still doing it. But, what has ruined music and has really especially ruined passion is things like American Idol and shows like that.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those singers that win are like they're the bride's cousin that asked the band if she could sing at the wedding. That's what they are. It's like they didn't pay any dues. They came there with their parents, and they're not old enough to drink yet, but they're singing and they're doing their thing, and everybody's voting for them because they really lowered the bar. I mean, if the bar is the Beatles, wow, how low is the bar now? Way down. We had great groups growing up when I was a kid. I mean, I was growing up there. After the Beatles, for me, came the Young Rascals. And they just
did it again, Kev.
They blew me away. Their energy on stage was unbelievable.
And so that was your next drumming hero there, right?
Yeah, like in the book, I say, Dino Danelli bumped Ringo Starr off the drum throne. Yeah. And then there was a lot of guys that followed. I mean, I talk about it in the book. First time I saw the Vanilla Fudge.
Carmine.
Oh, I was 17 years old, and Carmine. Oh,
you got better timing than Carmine.
But Carmine, his power.
Yeah,
he takes something from everything. But Ringo, the songwriting. Dino showed me that a drummer could be as much focused as a lead singer.
Yeah.
And then Carmine with the power.
Yeah, true.
You put those together, and you got something going on.
Yeah, that guy, I mean, again, and I said something to you during our correspondence about you being power-based like a Bonham and Carmine, but really there's more to you than that because, I thought about it after I said that to you, and I thought, well, no, because this guy, he can also pick up brushes and do stuff with brushes and create sounds, and I like what you talked about in the book also about you and Billy Joel jumping up on the plywood and all that, just trying to create these different types of sounds.
Yeah. Well, the brush thing, like I have a whole chapter called Wedding Bands, and I played weddings for 2.5 years. And you really need to learn a lot of ethnic music, and I thought, I had played with Mitch Ryder before that, and the big rock guy from Detroit. And I thought, I'm this rock star now, and I'm big time. And what am I doing playing these weddings? And then I get there, my hair is down to here, and I'm wearing my friend's tuxedo that I borrowed. He made me sit in for him one night. And a trumpet player who's like 90 years old turns around to me and he goes, "The bride wants to start with a merengue." And I was like, oh my God, what's a merengue? So I stayed there for 2.5 years and learned more from those older guys than anybody else. It was just awesome.
Yeah. And look how it broadened your style by doing that. And I understand what you're saying because I started out playing hard rock, heavy metal. I started with Jimi Hendrix and all that kind of stuff. And but then, and it was really because my wife liked different types of music, I started branching out and learning those different types of styles. And I'm thankful for that because it really broadened me as a musician. So I understand it.
Yeah, I tell kids when I do drum clinics, I say, you got to listen to everything, because you can take something. I always say, a great drummer, a good drummer will borrow, but a great drummer will steal. It's like you take something from everything. Kids like that. Oh, I hate hip hop. Yeah. Well, the beats that the hip hop players are playing today, you're going to see the metal guys playing them next year. Because
it's amazing.
So you have to listen to jazz. You'll learn these drum fills. So speaking about Jimi Hendrix, the beginning lick that I play in "Only the Good Die Young" is the exact lick that Mitch Mitchell plays in a song called "Up from the Skies" on the Axis Boulder's Love album, and he does the brushes too. I just want to talk.
Yeah, I'm hearing it right now.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
you take things from. There's only 3 things you can do on the drums. You do a single stroke roll, pop, 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 a double stroke roll, da, 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 or a rough. That's all you do on the drums. I mean, every rudiment is made up of that. So you've got to become inventive at some point.
Well, I mean, again, that's what separates the greats from the not so greats. That it's that, like Travis mentioned, again, the passion and the drive. To say, look, I don't want to be just like anybody. I want to have my own style and I want to really stand out.
Right.
And another thing that I noticed in your live performance was the swim style on the cymbals. And I mean, that was unique. There wasn't, I didn't see any other drummers out there in that time doing that.
Well, you know, I always say that, you know, you play in clubs, and then you play in theaters, and then you play in arenas,
Yeah.
and then you play in stadiums. You know? There's somebody sitting way in the back that wants to see some action. And my style, what I do, it's called the mower. It's called a mower swing.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I developed it from like watching a baseball pitcher. When a baseball pitcher pitches, he doesn't go like this.
Yeah.
He doesn't go like that.
Right.
He goes like this. His elbow goes first, and then he throws it.
Yeah.
And it really gives you a whew.
Right. He's got the snap. Yeah.
So that's wham, you know, wham.
That's amazing. And there's a guy out now. I don't know. You probably know this guy, or you've probably heard of him. A guy named Steve Moore.
Yeah.
That he's doing your swim style on there now.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that do my swim style. I mean, Foo Fighters, Taylor Hawkins.
Is he?
Big fan of mine. I was invited to a Foo Fighters show because they were fans, you know. So I went to the show, and it was funny because what's his name? The guitar player. What's his name?
Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl. That's it. Yeah. Dave Grohl said to me, he goes, "Wow, I thought you'd be a lot bigger than you are because the way you play." You know, he thought I was going to be huge. Like,
Well, I've read stuff like that too, saying, you know, this guy's a big guy, this guy's a powerful guy, this, that, blah, blah, blah. I've read all those things.
No, I'm 5'11" and a half, and I weigh like 173 pounds. No, 165 pounds, maybe.
That's amazing. Well, this is going to lead me into another question. I don't want to be hogging this all up because I know Kev and Travis have questions for you as well, but it's leading me into something that's a heavier question.
Yeah.
And you and I talked about this again in correspondence. The way that I play guitar is a very powerful and aggressive way. And the way you play drums, in my opinion, is a very powerful and aggressive way also, for the most part. Do you feel that it's attributed to some of the sufferings from childhood? Is it a pent-up frustration? What would you say?
Oh, I would definitely say that it's the, you'll never make it. You'll never do it. There's no way you can do this. Oh, yeah? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you that I'm as good as that guy over there playing piano. That's what I'm going to show you when we're on stage. You know, so many people have said to me, I came to see Billy Joel, but I couldn't take my eyes off you. Yeah. And Billy appreciated that because he said, I need somebody that people look at besides me so I can at least just bend over and blow my nose during the show, you know? So, and I was that guy.
Lib, isn't it amazing now when you look back on this, and Kev and Travis, I know you guys have watched plenty of videos with Liberty playing. It had to be on purpose. Billy Joel not only had an interaction with you during the show, but it seemed like he wanted you close to him, you know, on the stage. And it was almost like he was feeding off of you or something. There was some kind of communication going on between the two of you and not so much the rest of the band.
You know, it almost feels, it feels like, from what you said earlier on, Lib, maybe Billy kind of, he appreciated the fact that you done so much to the lyrics, you know, that the two went together kind of thing.
Yeah, well, Billy said at one interview, he said, if I could play the drums, I would play like Liberty. You know, you know, in the beginning of the book, I don't know if you read it, Kev, but there's that beginning with that Billy does the forward in the beginning. And, you know, somebody asked me years ago, well, does Billy tell you when you play good? And I said, no, we only know when we play bad, because when you make a mistake, it's like, what's wrong with you guys? You're playing terrible tonight. You know, you never come off the stage and go, yeah, you guys were great. That was really good lick you did in the second song, whatever. No, you don't hear that. But in the beginning of the book, in the forward, he actually acknowledged what I did for him. You know, like took his classical music and brought it to the people with my kind of, I guess, street kind of playing, you know, making it simple, but playing it and intensifying it and making it better.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And again, I don't know Billy Joel. I don't know what Billy Joel says or does, but I would think that he would absolutely be missing you, when he's doing these shows now. I mean, this other guy, I think his name's Chuck Berge. No offense to him, great drummer, but he's not you. And he can't add what you could add to that. So I wonder what that dynamic is like now.
Well, it's funny because right before the pandemic hit, that's when I saw Billy, when we finally, rekindled our relationship. And I don't think he's played since then.
Oh, I see.
So, but I mean, I get emails from him all the time, and sometimes like an old reference will come up that'll make us laugh, because we always had fun. I mean, we were brothers, like the whole band, myself, Richie Cannata, Russell Javers, and the late Doug Stegmeyer.
Yeah.
We were like brothers. We started out in two rent-a-cars, making like $400 a week, driving in two rent-a-cars from college to college, and then then you're staying in the Ritz-Carlton and you're flying on private planes. It's like, it's almost like, this is ridiculous.
But you paid the dues. You paid all those dues to be there. So again, back to what you were saying earlier, I don't quite, and again, look, I don't follow today's music. I don't at all, but I see headlines from time to time, or some of these performers are in the headlines for this or that or whatever.
Right.
It seems to me, now I could be wrong, but it seems like it's a much more corporate type of thing now. And if they like a certain look or they want a certain sound, well, then bang, that's it. And the machine gets behind that person, and they're the biggest thing going. There's no dues being paid at all.
Oh, well, what happens? In the days when I was first with Billy, and before that, was an A&R, artist and repertoire from the record company would come and see the band play live. They would, if they liked the band, they would say, "You guys are great. Be in my office Monday morning. We're going to sign you to a 3-record deal." That means, it was a development deal. Like if the first record didn't do too well, okay, the second one's going to be better, and the third one hopefully will be better. That does not happen anymore. That does not happen anymore. Now you have to record your stuff, have it mixed, produced, everything. It's got to be perfect. And it's got to be, yes, like you say, a certain kind of style. It seems like we're the people that want something new all the time. We get sick of the old thing. I tell my wife all the time, do you realize that the Beatles in 1967 put out Sgt. Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour, with the single Strawberry Field and Penny Lane on the other side in 1 year?
Yeah.
It takes 3.5 years for a band to make an album these days.
Amazing.
Like,
it's just amazing.
What is going on here,
Well, Lib, I don't know, but I would say that it's on the decline, and it's very sad. It's sad to see. But Kev, go ahead. You started to say something.
No, I have to apologize because I haven't read the book yet, so I'll definitely need to catch up on that. But how did you and Billy come to be? I mean, did you spend a long time playing clubs before that? How did it all come about?
Well, the book is about me and my dues and how I got from being my grandparents being immigrants from Italy to now one of their offspring has played with one of the biggest single artists ever. How did that happen? Well, there were many roads that I had to take. Many roads. Some of them were great. Some of them were very, very, very dark. I was fortunate enough that I got off those roads. People like our bass player, Doug Stegmeyer, he didn't. He ended his life because, really sad story. But there was many times where I thought, this is it. This is the end, I don't know what I'm going to do now, but fortunate enough. Anyway, I'm getting off your question. Your question was, how did I meet Billy?
No, that was fine. That was brilliant. You were taking just you go
absolutely.
for it, sir. Go for it.
No, so, being fortunate enough, I mean, you realize, somebody once told me, they asked me the question, they go, when you're on your deathbed, who do you want to see looking at you? Who do you want to see, the last people that you see? I thought, well, I want to see my daughters and my wife. That's who I want to see. And it was like, wow, that's the most important thing in my life. Not Madison Square Garden, not Giant Stadium, nothing like that. That's all cool. That's really, really good. And it's my passion. That's what I want to do. But there's people that have supported me and held me up in bad times, that have been there for me. Even if it was like, you better get yourself together by May or else I'm leaving you, like that kind of stuff, and, I'm really grateful for that, fans that write in, when I reconnected with Billy, a girl that I went to high school with wrote me, she said, well, I'm so glad that you guys reconnected. I would have hated to think of the music of my life that I grew up with ended in such like horrible situation. Yeah. I'm so glad you guys are friends again. And, like at the end of the book, I don't want to give it away, but what I wrote at the end of the book when I saw him and then we parted and said goodbye. Yeah. And I always told people what I would say if I ever saw him, and I got to say it,
And I hope it comes around, Lib. I hope it comes full circle to where maybe one day, once this COVID garbage is out of here, under control or whatever, that maybe you'll get a message from him or a call saying, hey, look, Lib, let's do something together again. I hope that comes around. If it doesn't, well, at least you've made peace now, and praise God for that you have peace of mind in knowing that everything is okay.
Well, Bill, it was the reason why I wanted to reach out to Billy was because when the Lords of 52nd Street, me, Richie Cannata, Russell Javers, and the late Doug Stegmeyer got inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to have anything a part of it. I was a very, very angry person at what had happened, being let loose from Billy, right? But in the book, I talk about the dream where he picks me up and the devil tries to kill me, wants to kill me, Yeah. And so I was very angry. As a matter of fact, I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to this thing. The other guys talked me into it. I was still so upset that we had to play one song. I sent somebody else to do the sound check. I said, I'm not even going to sound check. I went there. We played 5 songs because the crowd went wild.
I'm sure.
They went nuts because now we're the original guys that played on the record playing the songs. Billy isn't doing that anymore. It's just Billy and these background guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we sounded more like the record than Billy did.
I believe that.
We have a guy, Dave Clark, who does the Billy part. He actually looks like Billy, sounds like Billy, plays piano like Billy. He's really good. And so after that, we said, why don't we do this? Let's take this on the road. Let's do something with this, because a lot of tribute bands are making a lot of money doing this, playing our parts, So now, as I'm learning the songs, I'm relearning the songs. I'm starting to fall in love with the songs again. And I'm thinking about how much fun we had in the studio and what it was like to be on the road and how much fun it was. The only thing that was missing now was the guy that I used to look at for 30 years. I used to look at him for cues, and he'd look at me for cues, and that guy wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
My friend wasn't there.
Yeah.
We spent Thanksgivings together with our families. Our girls used to hang out together all the time, and he wasn't there. And I thought to myself, it's time. I want my friend back. I've got the music, and now I want my friend back.
Yeah.
So I reached out to him.
Good for you. I think that was a great move. And I think it not only brought you peace, but I'll bet it brought him a lot of peace as well.
It's funny. It's like when I wrote him, I said, let's let the drum piano feud end. I'm sorry the way it ended. And he wrote me back immediately, like, I was disappointed too at the way it ended, And it was like, I don't know if you've ever been divorced or had a girlfriend that you broke up with, and you would talk like, she's really mean and I can't stand her anymore. And I hope that she trips and breaks her teeth. But while you're saying that, because you still love her,
correct,
deep down inside, it hurts your heart to be talking that bad about. And that's what it was like doing interviews with people. And I'm talking, bad about Billy. And it was the same thing. Like, why am I saying this to you? You know, like that kind of thing. Like, I really don't feel that way.
Sometimes it's the people we love most that seem to really get under our skin the most when it goes wrong. Travis, he seemed to be
I was
nodding
going to
there.
say the exact same. Well, what I've often said is that love and hate it's like opposite sides of the same coin. And when you're passionate about something, whether it's work, whether it's your friendships, it's your relationship, when you're passionate, the love is passionate.
Right.
Yeah.
When you hate, the hate is equally as passionate.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But I was going to say, Liv, I love the positivity that you have now. You were such a positive guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's easy to be positive, and it's hard to be negative because you gotta remember what you were negative about. You know, if you're, it's like being nice to somebody, or just being like nasty to everybody, because or lying and stuff. You just have to remember so much. When you're nice to everybody, you're like, hey, how you doing? Even if you forgot why you were nice to them, it's like, oh, okay, it's cool. If they bring something up, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You can say that rather than like, you said blah, 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 blah. And they said, I did, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I mean? I was mean to you? Oh, I'm sorry. You know?
Life is all frequency and vibration. So all life operates on frequency and vibration. If we're on high frequency and high vibration, life is good, life is positive, we're moving forward. If we're on low, life is a challenge to say the least. And there's always a problem, a drama. It's like the person has the black cloud over their head and nothing ever goes right. And it just continues to snowball.
Exactly. It's amazing how my wife can just look at me and say, okay, what's the matter? You know, it's like, wow, how did you know?
Well, you're blessed to have her, that's for sure. I read in the book, you know, about how that all came about. And man, I actually felt joy in my heart for you as I was reading that in the book.
Oh, I was at my end wits when that happened, you know, losing my gig, getting divorced from my second wife. My children like were so mad at me. You know, it was my wife's choice to end the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I don't actually say it in the book, but I do say it in the book. Yes, I do. I spent time in jail because of something stupid I did.
And we have all been there.
And you know, and now even when me and Billy were talking about like what happened in the past, we didn't really get into why the situation happened. What happened was it was like a he said, she said kind of thing. Billy's surrounded by a lot of people. He first of all, he has to write an album every time. You know, he wrote 11 albums, right, when I was with him. How to write an album, 14 songs, maybe more or less. At least 4 of them had to be top 40 hits, right? He's got to play the piano. He plays live. He's dealing with his home situation. And I'm getting mad at him because I want to go out in April and he doesn't want to go out on a tour till May. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, come on, let's go, you know? So he has a lot of people around him that he trusts to do things. And what happened was somebody told him that I said something about him. Now, because he trusts a lot of different people around him, he thought that this guy was telling the truth, right? He never came to me to ask me if that really happened.
Yeah.
And my stubborn Sicilian went like, you know what? Forget about him. I don't really care. He's going to do this to me. Screw him.
Yeah.
You know, what I should have done was park myself in front of his driveway at his house and waited for him to come out and said, what's going on? What happened? But for 14 years, I didn't do that. We just fought. We fought.
That's just all life lessons, Lib, you know, and there's not a man that walks the face of this earth that could say that he has a perfect life or he doesn't have a set of issues and challenges. And I find that sometimes on our journey in life, we have to endure certain miseries and challenges in order to really move forward. So there's a reason for everything. And there was a reason that happened. And I'm just thankful for you and for Billy that you guys were able to come full circle and have forgiveness and hopefully reconciliation of the friendship, and then hopefully be able to play music again together.
Well, the funny thing is that, you know, no matter what happens in life and what happened in our lives, me and Billy, what difference does it make? Our lives are great now. We both, you know, we both got remarried again. We both have young kids. We're older guys. He's 71. I'm 70 years old. He has a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. I have a 3-year-old. I have a 3-year-old.
That's why. That's what's keeping you so young, Lib. That's what it is. I'm sitting here thinking the water must be good in Brooklyn or something, man. I'm telling you.
The guy looks young.
Doesn't he?
Let me say something. I wrote to Bill today. I said, "I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you right away. I was flying a kite with my daughter."
Love it.
You know?
Love it. That's awesome.
So, Lib, how did you and Billy come together? Were you on your own? Was Billy already established? How did that all come about?
No, I knew Billy from, I was 17 years old playing in a place called My House, and I was in a band called the New Rock Workshop. And there was another band that played at the My House called the Hassles, and Billy was in that band. We used to watch each other play, and the only thing we ever said to each other was hi when we passed it in the dark. But there was one song that Billy did that I thought, I loved the song. It was by a group called Traffic, and it was Steve Winwood was in Traffic, and it was called Colored Rain, the song that he did. I thought the song was fantastic, and Billy sang it one night, and I thought, oh man, this guy's good. He's doing a song that I really, really, really like, you know. So later on, when I had a band called Topper, and the band
did it again, Liberty. You're taking the thoughts out of my head. I was going to ask you about Topper. Go ahead.
Sorry. So Topper was myself, Russell Javers, Doug Stegmeyer, and Howard Emerson. Now, Billy had moved to California by then. He had out the album Piano Man and had just released Street Life Serenada. You know, Piano Man had Piano Man on it, obviously, and Street Life Serenada had The Entertainer on it and stuff like that. Anyway, he's on that tour, and he needs a bass player. At the time, he's using different musicians in the studio and different musicians to go on the road. So he calls Doug Stegmeyer to do the Street Life Serenada tour. On that tour, he tells Doug, I want to move back to New York, and I want you to come with me, Doug, and I want to get the same band to be in the studio with me that will go on the road with me. And he says, I want a New York style drummer. And Doug says, well, you know the guy. And he's talked about me, you know, and Billy was familiar with the way I played, you know, even though I was 17 and now I'm like 23 by the time, 24 by the time this all starts to happen again. So I had been hanging out with Billy's tour manager and sound man at the time, even before this all happened. And we, I have to say, partied really hard. And part of the gig is getting along with others, you know? So I had that in already because the tour manager was going to be the judge, give the thumbs up or the thumbs down when I went for the audition with Billy. So I go over the audition and I'm playing. I learned all the songs in Billy's 2 albums. And we're looking up to the sound guy. And of course, he's going to give me because he kept telling me, you got to be in this band. You got to be in this band. You got to be in this band. Of course, he's going to give me the thumbs up, you know? So musically, I had it. Friendly wise, the same kind of vibe. We all came from the same area, the middle of Long Island. You know, so then he asked me, he said, what would you, I'm going to write a new album. I'm writing a new album. What would you do with these songs? How would you make them happen? What would you play on them? And he was amazed at how fast I came up with some great ideas. He didn't know for 25 years that Doug Stegmeyer had slipped me a tape of all the new stuff, the songs that became Turnstiles. You know, he did not know that.
That gave you an edge. They didn't know you had the edge.
They didn't know I had the edge. So we go in the studio, we're recording Turnstiles, just me, Billy, and Doug. And then we're listening back. And Billy says, oh, you know what? We could do some guitars on here. We said, well, we know guitar players. So all of Topper eventually became Billy Joel's band with the addition of Richie Cannata on saxophone.
It's amazing.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
You know what, Bill? You say it's amazing. Having it happen to me, I still think it's amazing.
It is. I mean,
it's like looking up in the air and seeing a jet plane flying over and going, how does that happen?
Yeah, what are the odds? Because that doesn't happen. In most cases, that does not happen.
Right.
So that's awesome. I mean, you had all your guys right there who you're so familiar with in playing, and that certainly must have added to the sound as well because you were already a cohesive unit.
Yes.
So you already knew, you fed and played off of each other, knew the timing and all this. So it had to be great.
Yeah, we knew each other. We were friends. We all came from the same area on Long Island. Look, we grew up in blue-collar families.
Yeah.
Billy wrote blue-collar songs. So we were able to relate to everything we were doing. It was just us. We're just doing it.
So,
everybody says, what was it like in the studio? I always say, we're just a bunch of friends doing what we love to do.
So what's
and
it
what
like?
amazed me, Liberty, was I'm thinking the song's going off in my head right now, so I got to say it while I'm thinking about it. We touched on you taking those lessons in the beginning, from the jazz guy. But I find it ironic in the sense that you really didn't want that. However, when you're listening to Zanzibar, now all of a sudden that jazz influence comes in.
Well, that came from the weddings.
Kev, Travis, have you guys heard the song Zanzibar?
No, I don't think I have.
That's where Liberty really transforms. I mean, it's amazing. So the whole band kind of goes into this jazz type of change, and it's amazing. It's like you're listening to a jazz drummer as the song's carrying out. I mean, it's incredible. So that's why I say where you have this something extra that a lot of people don't have, to where, you could go to these different styles. And even though in your book you said, Billy said, just be a rock drummer trying to play jazz or whatever.
Well, that was in Big Man on Mulberry Street. That
but
song,
still, yeah. But I mean, you really, if someone didn't know, they'd say, wow, maybe he brought in a jazz drummer or something for that session.
Yeah, no, that was me.
That's amazing. So, Kev, Travis, again, where I've said that, I lumped him in as just this power drummer, which he is a power drummer, but there's a lot more to his style than just a power drummer.
Don't forget, I was also very fortunate to play with a guy who wrote in so many different styles. I mean, he wrote, so She's Always a Woman to Me.
Yeah.
And then he writes a song like Stormfront, and,
it's just amazing.
What's that process like? Because most people, they'll look at the world tours, they look at the fame, they think of the big hits when they're all finished and polished and we know how they sound. But what's that like when you're sitting down? I mean, did Billy do it himself? Was there input from you guys? What's it look like when you're putting an album together?
Yeah, it's funny. I did a drum camp in Nashville. And in Nashville, the way they do things is the artist comes in and he has demos of the song. The demos of the song are complete. Guys have played on it, the parts have been made up on it, and the artist says, I just want to record this again to give it the quality sound that the radio will translate. So all these drummers got up there and they said the same thing. Yeah, I have the whole thing. I have to write out the notes, note for note, and I played through the song. I walked up there and I said, I walk into the studio, maybe Billy's got a song or two, maybe he's got a part to a song, and we have to start creating right there. We start to create. He had a tape full of what he called his bits and pieces, and he never threw anything out. That's why what you hear on those records, those are the only songs he ever wrote. There's nothing in a vault somewhere, that he could release. I mean, we talked about releasing stuff after we got our friendship back together. There's one thing called the Boathouse tapes, which is River of Dreams, but I'm playing most of the songs, before he went and got Danny Kreutzmeyer to do River of Dreams with another band. And also, there's a lot more left from Songs in the Attic. There's probably more live stuff. But other than that, nothing new that he wrote, because he would come in, have an idea, play it, the band would start playing with him, And if it really began to swing, he would go home and finish the song. Then we'd come back. Like Zanzibar did not have the jazz part in it until we started to play the music. And then he wrote the lyric, "I've got a jazz guitar." And it was bad.
That's amazing.
We can play jazz, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Travis, he went from, Liberty went from a piece like that, Zanzibar, to, in later years to It's a Matter of Trust, where he's playing like this John Bonham type of beat. It's amazing. That is, and Liberty could say this a lot better than I could, that a musician can kind of get pigeonholed into a certain style. And maybe that's good to where a person say, oh, okay, well, I know who that is playing. But I think it's even better when someone like him can play a certain style, but can also branch out to other types of styles. It just, it really is amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a blessing, brother. You are blessed. You're truly blessed.
Which is what I was going to say. Liberty, you mentioned something earlier in the interview about the path that you've been on, and some were really good and some were really, really bad. And again, what I like is the positivity. But what I was kind of curious about is going from the 2 rental cars, $400 a week, college campus to college campus, playing music, to the very first big show that you got to do with Billy Joel. How does that even, as you look back on it, how does that even feel then, and how does it feel now?
Well, the thing was, when we were playing the theaters, Billy used to have this whole shtick, where, like, beginning of New York State of Mind, he would light up a cigarette and we'd make believe we're an old jazz band, like playing like this slow stuff and stuff like that. So when we went into an arena, the first arena that we played was only half the arena. It was Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. And so we only played to half a house, like sideways, not the length of the arena, the sideways part of it. And he did all the same shtick, but we really over-exaggerated things. So it was able to translate to a bigger crowd, So people were nervous about that. Like they thought, oh, he's not going to be able to translate it into an arena. But luckily we found our niche and what makes it, like I was saying before, the way we strike the drums, the way the guitar players moved, and how Billy would stand up, and then we put he'd have the big piano here, and then a Fender Rhodes up here, and then another piano of CP80 over here. So he's traveling around the stage so everybody can see him, instead of being like Elton, just sitting in one spot,
Yeah.
So you develop these things as you go along. As things got bigger, you had to do something. Like that. And then when you get to the stadiums, it's like, okay, now we need screens so people can see us, I'd rather
think about this so you start off at a place like that, but think back to like Baltimore, days like that, where you're playing in these decrepit, caving in types of places.
Well, as you see at the end, when I put I have a family tree and I have a band tree, right? And Baltimore, I put next to it, it says, paying my dues, And I really did pay my dues in Baltimore, because that was the living in this place on top of a club it was called Hollywood Park. It was built in 1910, and you can get on one end of the club a roll of ball, and it wouldn't stop until it settled in the middle, because it was just falling down from the middle. And I really paid my dues. That's when I got into drugs and alcohol and all kinds of things like that. Right. So that was the insane time. But then going to becoming a bigger drummer, not physically bigger, but like visually bigger, I realized I can't do half this stuff that I used to party with and do what I'm doing. Can't do it.
You.
I have to, moderate,
I'm
just still thinking.
I'm trying to think how hard that would be. You're out on
tour.
Go ahead,
Kev, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're on tour. That must be hard, kind of not getting dragged into that whole drugs, drink, rock and roll scene. Because, it's there, it's on the go, right? So that must have been quite hard to really kind of pull back from.
Well, when you tour with a band the size of Billy's, what we were doing was playing 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 2 days off. You actually play for 2 hours and 10 minutes out of the whole day. That's what you do. You go to sound check at 5 o'clock, you eat dinner, and then you play for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Then, because we were the only act, we didn't have any opening act, we're back at the hotel by 10:30. What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go upstairs and watch TV. You go to the bar because all the girls and fans are coming back to the bar because they know where you're staying and they're going to be there. And as weird as it sounds, people throw themselves at you. I don't know what that phenomenon is. I mean, I know I saw in a documentary where John Lennon was asked, why did the girls scream? And he just said, I don't know. I don't know why that happens. It just does. And believe me, we cashed in on that.
Travis, I know you're itching on this next question, right? You're just itching to ask him. Say, I know you've got something related to this for him.
Which one?
I know it.
No.
So fire away. No.
So one of the things, of course, that this show is infamous for, depending, is the focus on the supernatural and the paranormal. Have you ever had a supernatural experience?
Let me see. Have I ever had a supernatural experience?
Besides, having people throw themselves at you.
Supernatural, yeah.
I thought that in a hotel, it might have been in Kentucky, we were at a really hotel and they told us it was haunted. And I was like, there's no way this place is haunted. But I think somebody was in the room with me that night. I really do. I really think
so. That was a long night, right, Lib?
Oh, man, I was scared. Yeah, that was a long night. That was a really long night. Yeah.
And where was that at? What city was that in?
I think that was in Kentucky somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Lexington or something like that. Because it was a really old hotel,
We've got a few.
Yeah. I was going to say, Lib, Travis is in Kentucky, so that could be near him.
I'm bipolar. I'm Virginia, Kentucky. I bounce back and forth. So.
Now, Libby, there's one more thing I want to ask you, since Travis brought that question up. In reading the book, I think you had another supernatural experience, and this pertains when you were, I guess this was after Billy, and you got involved with the band Big People, and you put that band together with Ben Orr and all these people.
Oh, yeah.
I think, based on reading that, I think that was another supernatural experience for you. Can you kind of describe that?
The band was myself, Pat Travers played guitar.
Great guitars.
Jeff Carlisi, original founding member of 38 Special. Derek St. Holmes sang lead and wrote most of the songs for Ted Nugent that nobody knows about until Hired Gun came out. And myself and Ben Orr from the Cars sang Drive and Just What I Needed and all that kind of stuff.
He was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. He was our rock star. Ben was our rock star. And a great person, a very nice person. And Ben, unfortunately, got pancreatic cancer all of a sudden. He was very sick. And we were like saying, do you want to stop this, and he said, no, I want to keep playing. I want to keep playing. And I can remember we were playing in Alaska, and he turned to me at one point, because he kept getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And he turned to me at one point and he looked at me and he said, don't do Drive, that song that the girls swoon over, And I turned to Jeff and I said, it's over. It's over. He's finished. Yeah. Well, we flew back and I got to Atlanta because I had a catch plane. I was living in Florida at the time. And I said my last goodbyes to Ben. Kissed him, hugged him. They wheeled him out in a wheelchair. A little while later, I was on tour with Billy, and I'm at one of the roadies' houses in Phoenix, Arizona. And a Cars song comes on the radio. And it's like, I'm thinking about Ben being sick and everything like that. And we're toasting to Ben Orr and like, yeah, here's the Ben Orr, here it is. And then all of a sudden, I just feel this presence come through the room. And I get a phone call right after that. It's Jeff Carlisi. He says, Ben just passed away. And I believe that Ben came to say goodbye to me before he left this world.
Yeah.
You know, I think so.
It. Yeah.
I think so.
And it's just amazing, Liberty, that when we have connections like that and brotherhood and friendship like that, I do believe that God, and I don't pretend to understand it because I cannot understand God's ways, but I do believe that he allows our friends and our loved ones to either come and check in on us once in a while, or when they're ready to leave this world, to come and just be in our presence for one final time.
Well, you know, I think I mentioned something else in the book in there when my brother passed away.
Yeah.
And I talk about, my brother died of AIDS in 1986, something like that, when AIDS was not known. I mean, nobody knew. I mean, they put him in a room and they would throw stuff in at him. You know, nobody would go in the room.
God
so
bless him.
He passed away. And, you know, you always hear about like, my heart is broken. Well, my heart was broken and I felt that emptiness. And I remember laying in bed. We had just started the Stormfront tour. And I was laying in bed and I said, dear God, what am I going to do? And I heard the voice say, fill your heart with me. And you know what I did? I went out and drank champagne and got so out of my brains, and I didn't do it. And I thought it was the end of my life because that gig that night, I threw up. I had to get the sticks to Crystal Talaferro, finish the set for me. I'm getting sick, you know? So I didn't listen. Yeah. But yeah, I heard a voice tell me.
I believe it.
You know?
This is why I say, you know, God blesses us all in his way, and we all have certain gifts and abilities. And for some reason, he'll call others to do greater things. Not that any man is greater than another, but he does call certain people to do greater things. And you're certainly one of those people. So, you know, when we talk about the supernatural, and Travis started this by his question, but the more we talk about it, the more it becomes crystal clear that God really has been with you and has favor on your life, and even through the bad times. And now here you are. So
yeah, I mean, me and my grandmother, my Italian grandmother, Devitto grandmother, we were very, very close. Mm-hmm. Me and my grandmother, I mean, she loved me because I was named after her son who was killed in World War II. She never saw him again because it was a closed coffin when he finally came home months later. And when I was born, they all said that Liberty had come back again. You know, her son had come back. Yeah. So we were close. And when she was dying, I was in Baltimore at the time with that band, paying my dues. Yeah. And she had seen everybody in the family, and I was the last one that she saw. She was in a coma for 6 days. And I got there on the 7th day. And she came out of the coma for a moment just to stroke my face. And she was so happy to see me. And then she died.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it was like, wow, this is like powerful. The connection that people can have to stay until they say the final goodbye to somebody, you know?
Yeah, she was not leaving until she got to see you.
Right.
And I just, again, the more we talk about this, the more it becomes more and more clear that, wow, God really has worked some miracles in your life and has really had this level of favor on you. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's that love thing. It's the love thing, you know? Yeah. The love for the people that wait for you, the love for whatever's going on up there.
Yeah. You know? But it's all good and it's all positive. And if the world could take a moment of pause, and I say this all the time, not that I'm any perfect one, I'm far from perfect. I try to do the best that I can do and be the best that I can be each and every day of my life, but I'm far from perfect. No man's a perfect man. Anybody that says that's a liar. But anyway, I say to people all the time, where I'll make postings, treat others as you want to be treated. And I wish the world could really take a pause, especially our nation right now, and look at that and say, okay, let's try this. And suddenly our world becomes a better place. But it's so sad that we're enveloped with so much evil and negativity now that it's just like spinning out of control on a daily basis.
You know, whether you believe that Jesus was the Son of God or just a man,
Mm-hmm.
his philosophies were spot on.
I agree.
You know, like Martin Luther King, what he said, you know, Gandhi, all those people that had a spirit that was connected to we call him the creator, call it love.
I agree.
You know, they all had it, you know, it was there. It was there, and they preached it, and because the world was so bad, it destroyed them.
Yeah, it's very sad, and I wish that, and I pray every day. I pray for peace. I pray that God can work a miracle of healing in our world, and He does things in His time. But it's very sad to see the things that are taking place now, and it is all wrapped around emotion. Yeah. So in the scriptures, we're told to guard our minds and make sound decisions with our minds, because the heart can be corrupted. So if we're led by the heart, which is emotion, man, we could get into trouble very quickly. And so I feel that's what's taking place now, is that in our country and the world as a whole, we're really basing it on this emotion and being impulsive, and bad things are happening.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's really, really crazy. I mean, you know, I feel bad. I mean, you know, being 70 years old, being born in 1950, I think I grew up in the greatest times of this country. But
I agree.
But then with the Black Lives Matter movement, you know, and you're hearing things that went on with them in that time that I thought was the greatest time in the country. Yeah, they were suffering. They were suffering because, see, there's two things that I don't understand. I don't understand why there's war.
Yeah,
I don't get it. My friends went to Vietnam. I saw them die. I had to go for my draft physical. Luckily, I failed the physical and didn't get to go to Vietnam. But it was when the draft was. There was no lottery. It was a draft.
Yeah.
And now when I put on my Converse sneakers, it says made in Vietnam. Is that why all those guys died? To make Converse sneakers in Vietnam? What, are you kidding me?
Makes no sense to me.
All those lives. And also, how can you hate somebody just because they think different than you do?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or they're a different color than you are? How can you hate them? Like, I mean, hate them. You know?
And see, this is where the devil comes in, Lib. I think that, again, we all have free will. God gave us free will. We're free to make our decisions. However, the devil will capitalize on that when you start to have these types of things. Well, I hate this guy for this, or his color, or what he said, or whatever. The devil then comes in and amplifies and magnifies that, and here we are now.
Yeah. It's just it's a horrible situation that's going on now. You know,
I just pray for peace. I pray that God will bring peace on the earth in one way or another. And you have really, with your God-given abilities and talent, you have, through your music, the ability to be able to reach and touch people to where most can't. They don't have that ability, but you do. And I'm praying for you that whether it's through the two bands that you're in right now, or if you somewhere down the road make a record with Billy again, that there's some kind of great song that could come from that to really touch and reach the people and inspire them and move them forward in the positive direction, away from all the negativity.
Well, look, I believe in like I can only do one thing at a time, you know, one person at a time. Somebody said they want to save the world. I said I'd like to save my neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But like the other day, I've been communicating on Facebook. This young 17-year-old girl who's blind and has Asperger's and a whole bunch of things wrong with her is a huge Billy Joel fan. And she said, I want you to help me meet Billy Joel. And I was like, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Billy's not that kind of guy. Right. So she said, I want you to listen to this song I wrote for Billy for his birthday. she sent it to me. It was really good. Very, very, Scottish and,
There you go, Kev.
that kind of stuff, And so I said, I know what I'm going to do. I sent it to Billy and I said, you got to listen to this, man. This girl's pretty good. He writes me back and he says, what's her information? How can I get to her and tell her that I'm really thankful for what she did? This girl got an email from Billy that said that she was talented. She should keep on going. Thank you so much for this birthday gift. She was thrilled.
It's awesome.
Thrilled. That's the way I like to touch people.
And so God worked through you in that to where, she makes the contact with you and then you pass it on to Billy and then it comes full circle and you really made a huge difference in that girl's life in a great way.
Yeah. The God of peace, whatever, just comes through. I do it. I like to do that. Don't get me wrong. I can get angry at the drop of a hat. But,
we all can.
But I just want to spread the good, the peace, be nice.
That's what it's all about.
Brother.
I've said that all along. You can never heal the world. No man can do that. You can't change it. Like you say as well, our neighbourhood would be nice, Lib. But even then, how do you really go about that? But you can most definitely change other people's worlds for them. And that is a perfect example right there. That girl, she'll never ever, nobody can take that moment away from her. Nobody. So no, that's hats off, brother. Hats off. That's a real way of helping people, Bill. Really,
I love it.
Making a change.
It gives me the chills. I mean, that is authentic. That's what God wants from us. And when it becomes automatic like that, to where you have some people that could talk that, and there are plenty of phonies out there that could say, oh, I never have a bad day, and oh, I do all these great things and all that. Well, that's not true, and that's not authentic. But when something like this happens, it is authentic, and it is true, and it is a blessing.
I can remember there was one time I was in another band that I didn't write about. It was called the Northwest Airlines All-Star Band. It was myself, Felix Cavalieri from the Rascals was in it.
Oh.
Steve Cropper was in it, booked in MTs.
Wow.
Mark Farner was in it.
Wow, man, you had some great guys in there with you.
And Billy Preston was in it.
Wow.
And David Santos, who I played bass with, and Mark Rivera from the Billy Joel Band was in it too. So we used to play for Northwest Airlines when they opened up a new airport, when they would fly into a new airport. A lot of them were in Canada. We flew into this one and we would play a show and then go to visit a children's hospital.
Nice.
And because we'd get the press from the show and also the press, because we went to, and then people would know that Northwest Airlines is landing there. Well, I befriended this little girl. And when I first saw her, she was holding that little thing that hangs all the medicines off her. She had cancer, leukemia. She was bald, and she had on this little Minnie Mouse dress. And I said, you need a hat. You need your ears. You need that hat, the Mickey Mouse hat. And I said, I live in Orlando. I am going to get you the hat, right? So I went to Disney World, and you go to the outside concession stand, when people leave, they want to buy stuff before they leave. And I said, look, I've got this little girl. She's got cancer. I want to get her the Mickey Mouse ears. I'm sorry, sir. And I want her name on it. That's what I wanted, her name on it. I'm sorry, sir. You can buy the ears, but we can't get the name on it. You have to buy it when you're in the park to get the name on it. I said, you don't understand. This little girl is sick. She's up in Canada. I promised her I'm getting her the ears. I'm sorry, sir, but you can't. I had a picture of her in my pocket. I took it out and I said, this is the little girl that I want to get it for. The girl behind the counter said, hold on, sir. She got on the phone. She called her manager. And she came back and she said, okay, we're going to make an exception. I got the hat with the ears on, sent it to her. I befriended her so much that every Christmas we would send her like American doll, you know, the American Girl dolls and stuff like that, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, she came with Make a Wish. She came to Orlando, and she stayed with us for a day or two, and a day. She stayed with us for a day, and my daughter Marielle was the same age as she was. We went to a park. We played. We did all kinds of things. Her hair had gone back. It was really curly, nice, cute little hair. She went back home. On Easter Sunday, I get a phone call. She passed away. I was crushed, because I fell in love with this little girl. I have my own children, but I fell in love with this little girl. I told the guy from Northwest Airlines when we reconvened and started to do gigs again, I told him the story, and I said, I will never, ever do that again. It hurt too much.
Yeah.
He looked at me and said, you have to, because of what you did for that little girl while she was here on earth. You made her life so much better just in that short time that she was alive. You have got to do this again. That was hard to swallow because it really just broke my heart. Like, you know, I don't know why people have dogs because they only live like 8 years. It's like, oh my God, how could you deal with it? They're going to die in 8 years, you know?
It's tough.
You know, it was like you talk about the spirit that's all around us, that the good spirit that you want.
Yeah.
That's the one that leads you, you know?
I'm with you, brother.
The dark one will grab you by the collar and drag you in.
Into the darkest of places, that's for sure. But when you're in something like that, Liberty, I mean, that is absolutely of God, and God worked through you to be such a wonderful blessing to that little child. Yeah. And
a blessing to me. A blessing to me.
Exactly. But not only that, I'm sure you went on to many other children and did that as well after that. I have no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. It was those are great things that happen. You know, they talk about, you know, like, what's the greatest moment in your career? You know, was it the winning Grammys? Was it playing Madison Square Garden? Is it playing in front? No, that's not the greatest. It's like meeting these kids, doing things for other people, having a fan just freak out when they meet you and they're able to communicate with you. Yeah. Those are great moments. Having somebody walk up to me and say, you changed my life. Could it get any better than that? No. Forget the Grammy. Forget the Garden. I was playing Madison Square Garden. I said, this is it. This is it. You know?
Oh, that's amazing, brother. So you've had quite a life for sure. And again, I admired your playing for years, you know, and then in reading that book, I thought, wow, this guy is somebody. This guy, you know, you really are a good man. And so you could tell, like I just said a couple of minutes ago, people could fake it. They could fake it all day long. There's plenty of those types. There's plenty of those televangelists on TV that will tell you anything and everything, but you know, they're wolves on the inside. But this is what I like, is somebody like you. And I'll tell you, brother, this has been such a great time that we've spent with you, because I see you're real, you're authentic. There's nothing phony about you. And it's been so great just for us to have the opportunity to talk with you like this.
Well, you know, that's the thing with that post yesterday I posted. It was like, you know, before you found out what was going on, maybe I jumped the gun, whatever happened. You know, I just, you know, what's that thing about if it walks like a duck, it's a duck. You know, that's the way I feel about that guy that's the president now. You know, so I wouldn't put it past him that he did say what he said. You know, but people will fight you on it. But I was just speaking from the heart. You insulted my uncle who died. You insulted my father who was a Purple Heart. You know, my cousin who came home with a metal in his head and eventually died of a heroin overdose because they were getting morphine in Vietnam. You know, it's like, dude, think about things. You know, that's what gets me. It's like, where is the compassion in that?
Well,
man?
There's a spirit at work here, Liberty. I'm convinced of it. And it is a demonic spirit at work to not only divide men, but to create this level of hatred to where it keeps people opposed. And so it goes right back to united we stand, divided we are conquered and will fall.
Right.
So, I mean, this is where we are right now as a nation and the world at large. Really, Kev could tell you stories about the people over there in the UK right now. That's, you know, there's craziness over there also. It's just
insane, right?
Yeah, our world is in chaos.
Liberty,
So,
I can only thank you.
I'll shut up. You go ahead, Kev.
No, Liberty, I just want to thank you. And, you know, I had no idea, really, before Bill had kind of said we were going to be getting you on the show. I've thoroughly enjoyed kind of researching who you were, but nothing compared to the last 5-10 minutes of the show there.
Yeah.
You're a real good dude. Real good dude. And
No question.
Oh, wait, I'm going to go out and get my wife, and I want you to tell her that too.
I tell you, man, listen, I can't thank you enough for today. It's been a real kind of eye-opener. It's very rarely you get to speak to some of the people who have rubbed shoulders with names that everybody knows and big rock stars, but you are just the real deal, just down to earth, nice guy, and you have changed people's lives out there, both with music and away from it. So I can't thank you enough. And before we let you go, and before I let Travis speak to you, please let people know where they can get the book, because I'm pretty sure...
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the title
there's
or
going to be
anything
more.
else.
I know there's going to be more people now are going to be wanting to read the book and find out more about you.
Do you have it there?
Bill's got it.
Bill?
I don't. I have it, but I don't have it here right now. I forgot to put it in my desk. Give me a second. Let me see if my wife can hear me.
You know what?
I'll get her to bring it in to me.
Listen, I can get it faster than you can.
All right, I'm sorry.
Bill, this has been awesome, dude.
This is a great show.
Oh, how can we top it? How are we going to top this one? I mean, this is, and I had a feeling. I knew Liberty was a great guy.
There it is.
But I didn't realize that we were going to really go beyond the surface. And that's what we did. We went beyond the surface, and we really touched on some really heavy duty stuff.
Oh, we didn't even get into what we were talking about, like my father being so abusive, you know.
Well, we got time. If you've got time, we've got time. Kevin, are you okay? We'll stretch this.
The floor
Travis,
we've definitely
got
time.
I want to talk about that, Liberty, because, and I tried to kind of steer you there earlier in the interview when I brought up some of those things, from your early childhood, and I would like to talk about that. But why don't you, before we go any further, hold the book up, and I'm telling everybody out there that's watching right now, and I'm being sincere. I'm not trying to sell a book for Liberty.
No.
I read that book. And I just bought another copy from my dear friend who's like a brother to me, Mike Supa, and in New York. And so for his birthday, I bought him a book, and it's going to be delivered to him on Monday. I was telling him how great this book is. And I'm telling all of you now, I highly recommend it. And it's not just about a rock star and his life. There are situations and issues in here and things that he's been through that the everyday average person will be able to relate to. I found myself, and I told Liberty this, that I said, well, we've got some things in common. And that was part of why I reached out to him, because it was compelling to me. And I felt that we really, truly had some things in common. So I highly recommend the book. So Liberty, if you can, show them the cover, and you could go to Amazon and get it. What's Hudson Music, Liberty?
Hudson Music, yep. HudsonMusic.com. Yeah, there's the book. There's the back of it. That's the Billy Joel Band.
AKA Topper.
Yeah, this was Topper. Doug, Russell, myself, and and Howie, who had left the band by now. And there's Richie Cannata.
How did David Brown come in? Was he somebody that you guys brought in later, or was he part of Topper as well?
No, he came in later. He came down from Boston and had just moved into New York, and we heard about him. And the first thing he did was played at the end of Big Shot on the record. He does
great guitar player.
Yeah, that's my buddy. Well, you saw the pictures. That's my buddy Supa. He does the recovery thing.
Liv, you did it again. I was just going to say to you, what about Richie Supa? No relation to my friend Mike Supa, but Mike Supa knows Richie Supa.
Yeah. And how about this guy? You know, this guy right here. See that guy on the bottom right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike
that
Supa
guy?
loves that guy right there, Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's his hero, Lib. Paul McCartney is his hero.
Enough of that.
That's awesome, man. Well, the book is absolutely awesome. And let's go back a little bit. I want you to go back and describe some of these things. It was tough for you. I mean, you had it tough as a kid.
Well, you know, when I wrote the book, I started to write the book about my family history, and my father lived till he was 91 years old. Fortunately, I had him till he was 91.
Wow.
My mother till she was 89. So I actually got to interview them on a cassette player, you know, a couple of times about the family, how they came here, the stories when they were growing up, and I interviewed a couple of my aunts. And my aunt Millie always told me, she always said, "Oh, your father was bad. Oh, he was bad growing up, bad, like just a bad kid, you know." and he grew up in the neighborhood on his block. Murder Incorporated lived. Now, Murder Incorporated, the mafia would send Murder Incorporated to do the killings for them. And when they had light jobs, like getting money from somebody, they'd send my father and his friends to go get the money. So my father used to like beat up people and stuff.
Now, was this Brooklyn, Lib? Was this in Brooklyn?
Yeah. This was in Brooklyn. And so he then joins the Army, right? He signs up to be a paratrooper. He's in the 101st Airborne. They jumped in Normandy. They fought at the Battle of the Bulge. And he comes out and he wants to be a career criminal. So, you know, my mother, then they meet. My mother gets pregnant with me, and so he has to get married. And my mother convinces him to become a New York City policeman, take the test for the police department. He becomes a New York City policeman. So now I feel that he loved my mother, and I came in between him and her, because I was this baby. My mother had been married before, and she had 2 children in the form of marriage, but the husband got custody of them because he lied in court about her, you know. So I became this savior for her, you know. I'm this baby, and I think my father was a little jealous of me because he had this whole life that he wanted to have. And now
just the 2 of them,
Yes, the 2 of them.
Yeah, I see.
You know, he's doing crimes with his friends and stuff like that. Now he's a policeman, you know, and there's me. So growing up, I could never be what he wanted me to be. I could never be that. So what I tried to do with the book was put myself in his shoes and see why he did what he did, why he was so abusive to me. I mean, he always used to call me a punk, like, and he'd come home from work, being the cop, and anytime he had an elastic band on his watch, and if he took his watch off, I knew I was in trouble, because he always wanted to spar, you know, like do that. And I can remember times like, okay, I took a swing at him, and I ripped his favorite shirt. He chased me I ran into a closet, and he kept banging. My leg was out of it. And he kept banging the door on the closet door, you know, on my leg. And so many times I would hide behind my mother, and my mother would just like protect me, and he would never hit her. But my mother would always say, Jimmy, just don't hit him in the head, Jimmy, just don't hit him in the head. And he'd be like throwing his fists behind her, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I realized as we got older that this man saw so much in his life that made him that person that he was, that he just didn't know how to deal with something different. He just didn't know how to deal when the world was changing, and he was staying the same. You know, he admitted at the end, he said, if it was today, he would have been in jail with what he did to me. You know, and I forgave him. I told him, you know, many times that he was my hero growing up. I always looked up to him. I remember he was in a radio car accident, and he was in bed, and my aunt and my mother were giggling, and I went upstairs crying. I was a young boy, and I went upstairs crying, and I prayed, please, God, don't take my dad. Don't let him die, you know. Like
so
that
you
kind
had
of
unconditional love.
Unconditional love, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I never once said I hated him, but you know, sometimes I would feel that like,
Yeah.
but yeah, he was very abusive, and you know, I kind of understand why. I understand why he was. If he would have gone for help, you know, like
But you didn't do that back then. Nobody did that back then.
No, if you did, you never admitted it.
Right, right.
You know, I mean, I got help through a life coach. I mentioned her name in the book, and she's been wonderful for me. And, you know, you need that kind of thing, you know. With my drug and substance abuse and stuff like that, you know, I don't go to AA, but I have the life coach, and she talks me off the ledge sometimes, you know. Like the world can drive you nuts.
Yes, and if not, now for me, if not for my faith, I'd be in big trouble. There's no way I could navigate through this life without the power of God and without keeping my relationship real and authentic with God. And he guides me in my ways. And again, am I perfect? Absolutely not. Nor do I claim to be. But I strive to be the best that I can be in each and every day, because I have to be somebody for somebody every day of my life. And you do as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good for you. I applaud you in being able to move past these things. And did you ever have a moment with your dad to where he kind of apologized and you said, look, Dad, you know, I love you. I forgive you for anything. Or was it just more of a silent type of thing? No,
it was like, you know, when I told him that he was my hero, you know, he was getting sick at the end, you know, and he broke his hips and stuff, and he's in the bed. And I looked at him teary-eyed, you know, and I just said, I love you, Dad, and you're my hero. You're it. You know, somebody asked me in an interview, if you could talk to two people, who would you talk to? And I said, okay, I'd like to talk to Ringo to see if he really played on all those songs, or Paul did. But I want to talk to my dad because I want to know more about him. Yeah. You know, I mean, my mom if all the love that I have for my children, I learned from my mom. Yeah. You know, because she was the loving one. She was the one that was there, you know. Isn't that amazing, though, that it was such a contrast? And look, in my own life, this is one of the things that we have in common. And I'm sorry to say, for many years, I very much hated my father with a passion, and I was able to forgive him before his death. I was shot to death at the age of 48, but I'm so thankful that I was able to forgive him and have a semblance of a relationship with him before that happened, because, man, that would have been tough for me to deal with in my current life had I not. So that's one of the things that really resonated with me when I was reading your book. And I kind of could place myself there and feel your pain in a sense, because I could understand it. Yeah, back then it was so different too. I mean, the world was a different place. My dad, if my mom went out for a little while to go shopping or something like that, and one of us like made in our diaper, he would put us in the tub until my mother came home. Let us stand in the tub till my mother came home. He would not change a diaper. That was not a man's job. No, that was a different right. There's no way they were going to do that. Yeah, you're right. He didn't cook dinner, you know. Yeah. He made us breakfast because he let my mom sleep in the morning, but, you know, that was about it.
The world was a better place back then, gents. I'm telling you. It was a better place.
It was, wasn't it?
Big time.
Travis, are you ready to follow up on this?
I was just going to thank Liberty again for coming on the show. It is a great pleasure. I mentioned managing the radio stations, and growing up, I do have a great love of music, and many of the names and the songs that you've mentioned tonight just resonate on so many levels. And so I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on the show. Secondly, for your impact on the industry from the musical standpoint. Yeah. And thirdly, for just, as Kev and Bill have already said, just the top-notch A1 gentleman that you are. It is truly a pleasure to talk with you and get to know you. I'll be getting a copy of the book. I really want to sit down and read this, and learn more about you and get some more insight into who you are and what you've been through.
Well, Bill, don't give him the book. Let him buy it. I need the money.
I was just going to say, if he doesn't buy the book, Liv, I'm going to buy a copy for both of them and send it. I'll send one to Kev across the pond there. That's how much I love that book. All right, Liberty, I got to ask you this. Okay. These are two questions that I wanted to ask. Your favorite song that you ever played on with Billy?
The last song of the set, because we're going home after that.
And the favorite album that you ever made with him?
Well, every album has a different meaning to me. I mean, Turnstiles was the first album that we did together. Then came The Stranger, which was the one that put us over the top.
Yeah.
52nd Street, it has the jazz thing on it. It's like, wow, that was really cool. Glass Houses is just the band.
Yeah.
Nobody from outside came in to overdub anything. It's all just the band. And then it was Nile Curtain, which is like tip of the hat to the Beatles.
Yeah.
But I think I'd have to say, if I had to listen to one album all day, probably Nile Curtain would be it.
Nile Curtain, wow. So because of the Beatle type of influence of the music.
Yeah, and I think it's got really good songs on it. Like, I really like Allentown, and Goodnight Saigon means a lot to us.
Yeah,
because,
I like both those songs.
Because, like I said before, I was that age that the draft, they wanted me to go to Vietnam, and on that day, like over 300 guys had gotten killed, at that time when I turned 19 and was going for my draft physical. So we kind of felt this, like, very fortunate that we didn't go, but still the guilt of, like, why did the other ones have to go? I mean, we're getting on the bus after the physical, driving back to Freeport where they dropped us off. And, these they're boys, first of all, 18 years old, crying on the bus. Mm. When I told my family, my dad said, go for the physical, they probably don't want you, because he was a World War II vet. When I came home and they said, how'd you do? And I said, I think I'm rejected. And they both were crying, like,
thank God.
Yeah, so Nile Curtain means a lot. I make a mistake in Room of Our Own that turned out to be one of the best things I ever played.
Did you have input with Billy on that, the Saigon song?
Well, we were doing it during the Glass Houses sessions. He was singing it more like a German, like, we wanted to rule the world, but we lost, like a real negative kind of German
Nazi type of,
Yeah. And then he talked to one of his friends that had gone to Vietnam, and he thought, okay, I got this now,
Great song. I mean,
Allentown was around for years.
That's one of my favorite.
Because he was right, Levittown is right around where he lived, in Hicksville, Levittown, Seaford, where I grew up, all that. And he only had, we're living here in Levittown, and they're closing what do they do in Levittown? They don't do anything. It's a nothing town.
Yeah. So how did it come to, so did somebody suggest, hey, let's change it to Allentown, or how did he?
No, when they closed down the steel mills in Allentown.
I see.
And the union kind of just went, too bad, you lost your jobs, goodbye,
Yeah. Well, it was a great song, I'll tell you. I mean, so many, as we're talking now, they're just popping into my head one after the other. We could keep this interview going for 5 hours because so many things are popping in.
One last question from me. Who was the craziest kind of character that you partied with when you were in kind of doing the tours and at the height of it all? Who really stands out as being an absolute party animal?
A party animal. Well, I have to say, when we went to Cuba, in 1979, we toured Cuba. It's all in the book, too, when you get it. I have to say that the craziest person I ever seen, a musician, was Jaco Pastorius, the bass player from Weather Report.
He's a great bass player.
Woo! We played at a place called the Karl Marx Theater in Havana, Cuba. And I saw him dive out the back window into this ocean full of rocks. And he's floating, his feet are up, and he's just floating around. And, they only had like mojitos, to drink.
Yep.
So there was a lot of them drank. And I don't know how, but some of the musicians, and I won't say their names now, but they were able to get cocaine into Cuba. And it was insane.
Yeah,
it was really insane what they were doing. So that was a pretty wild time.
I can imagine. Crazy. Well, I can only thank you for today, brother. It's been brilliant. mean, we've gone for double the time, Bill. I think we had kind of
I
allotted. It's
thought,
been
yeah,
awesome.
I thought we were only
Yeah.
going to have Liberty for an hour, and I'm so glad that it stretched out like this. And Liv, thank you so much, man. I hope you'll come back.
Well, that's why I said, let's just go wing it. Let's just go.
Yeah.
Take your questions, throw them away, and let's just go for it.
That's the best way to do it.
There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about.
We still have a lot more to talk about. Are you kidding? So I hope you'll come back again so we can have like a part 2 and finish some of these things that I still got a million questions to ask.
Well, we'll have to do it over pizza when you come to Brooklyn.
Oh, I never met a good pizza that I didn't like. So now that's a real good invitation there. I'm not Italian, but technically I am because Italian food is my favorite.
Yeah.
Big time.
So you bring the pizza, I will bring one of my guitars, and we'll go and where are your kits at right now?
At my mother-in-law's house. But we'll go to Richie Canada's studio. He's got a big studio, like Class A, like the way it used to be. Big Neve board, big control room. Yeah.
I would love that.
Bill
Liberty. I
would
would
be
be
there
so
in the morning,
honored to
like-
stand in and play, be right there near you playing and knowing that you are actually behind that kit and we're making some music. That would be a dream come true for me.
Kev, what are you and I going to do, Kev, while they're doing that?
Me and you'll just stick to the podcasting, Travis.
Liv, we'll give them tambourines.
There you
Kevin
go.
and Travis will be on percussion. We'll
I'll
call
fire
them
up the
percussionists.
bagpipes. There's always need for the bagpipes.
Bagpipes, yes.
Yeah.
Look at the bagpipes going.
We'll do a rap song, and Kev could rap it in his accent.
Yes,
See, there we go. Sorted.
we've got this figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Liv, I really do hope that you'll come back on the show with us. You have an open invitation anytime that you
thanks.
want to come back. I mean, you are just top notch, and it would be our honor and pleasure to have you back anytime that you wanted to come back.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And tell us about, and I got this wrong in our correspondence. I said the Kings of 52nd Street, and it's the Lords of 52nd Street,
Two
and the
bands.
Slim Kings.
Right. The Lords of 52nd Street, like I said before, myself, Russell Javers, Richie Canada. And then other guys, Malcolm Gold, Dennis Delgadio, Dave Clark, and Doug Kishner fill in the other pieces,
Okay.
But the three of us are the Lords of 52nd Street. We're the guys that played on the Billy Joel records.
Yeah.
So when you hear us play Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, you're hearing the drummer, you're hearing the sax solo the guy that really played it, so it sounds more like Billy Joel than Billy Joel does, actually, these days.
I believe it.
Yeah. So we're actually starting to do gigs. We got one next Saturday. They're called driving gigs, where people come in their cars and they social distance. We've done one about 2 weeks ago. We did one.
That's interesting.
And
How was
it's
it?
pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Is it strange? Strange atmosphere? Is it weird?
Well, the thing that's weird about it, and I think of this, I had to think of a positive way to tell the band, but when you started playing and you were young and people really didn't care to hear you, you played to impress the guy next to you, the guy who was playing with you.
Yeah.
The drums you could play to impress the bass player, to impress the guitar player would play something that the drummer would go, that was great, Now, because the crowd is so far away, you can't hear the applause or anything like that, and there's really no contact with them. So it's back to doing that again, which is really cool, So I really enjoy that.
So it's like stretching, you're stretching and pushing the limits here to, take it a notch further.
Yeah, to get that energy, so the people feel that energy. Because a lot of the place that we played last time, they had a PA pumping through, the sound pumping through. This place that we're going to play next will have a very small PA, but they have a radio signal that you can tune it in your car and listen to the sound that way.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I guess you could bring a cooler, you bring a lounge chair if you want to sit outside, So they're trying really hard to bring back live music, you know.
We always
it's very much
improvise,
needed.
adapt, and overcome. That's what I like about humans. We always find a way. It might be not quite normal, and I hate the term the new normal, but it's still nice
Right.
to know that, you know, people can still get to see their music, listen to their music, get out, do things, albeit the way we're doing them right now. But Liberty, I can't thank you enough again. I hope all goes well where you are with the COVID and everything else. I hope the book
Well-
continues to sell off the shelves
Oh, that
quicker
book's
than
going
ever.
to sell like
Big
hotcakes.
time, yeah, big time.
Kev, I just want to say one thing. It's amazing how that fire behind you keeps blazing away. And you didn't even throw any logs on it.
It's brilliant, isn't it? See, it's my virtual fire. It's great. YouTube's brilliant, you see. YouTube gives you everything, even gives you fire, Liberty. What can I say?
It's fantastic. And Travis, you know, we have the same background. Look, I
know it's totally.
door.
I think Kev and Bill are in the same location, and Liberty, you and I are in the same location. We're just-
Yeah. I'm actually in my bedroom. I mean, you know, I could go like this and you can see stuff like that. There you go, you know.
And please give our best to your wife and your children. And I'm just so happy for you, man, that things just came full circle for you. And though, you know, you had sufferings and miseries, not anymore. That was yesterday. And yesterday is dead and gone and not coming back. So good for you in today and moving forward.
Well, the sadness will come again. Like I say at the end of the book, and I'll just think of that first time I heard the Beatles, that count off 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're like, that's it, I'm happy.
I love it, man. Well,
All right, guys.
we got to get, and no pressure, you know, you're a busy guy, but you and I will talk, and maybe we'll come up with your return date to come back to the show whenever you want.
Cool.
Sounds good. Brilliant. Thank you, Liberty.
sooner than later, Bill.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, we're ready for Liberty anytime. Anytime that he's ready, we're ready.
All right, lads.
We'll let you get back to it, brother. Thank you, Lib. Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you
Lib.
so much.
God
All
bless
right,
you and your
guys.
family.
All right, take care of yourselves.
There we go. There we go. Awesome.
It's amazing.
Very,
Just an amazing
very,
man.
very, very cool.
Very impressed. I was impressed with him from the beginning. And now I'm even more impressed since we've had the opportunity to talk with him for the last couple of hours.
In a way, I'm actually quite grateful that I'm not a big fanboy because I don't know what to expect. So for me, it's a bonus that he's this kind of musical kind of legend and things. But for me, what came across into anyone who didn't know him from his music, what a guy.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Just-
Do you know what I mean?
Top notch. I mean,
Yeah.
just a genuinely good guy.
Yep.
I could guarantee you there are men in his position that have had the level of success that he has had that would not be so kind and cordial and open. So I'm very thankful to God that we were able to make this connection with Liberty and have this great time with him.
I watched a couple of his interviews in preparation for this, and I must admit, that was one of the things that I really took out of both the interviews I watched. The fact he was just so down to earth.
Yeah.
If you bumped into this guy, you'd have no idea, you know, the kind of life he's had, the people he's been with, and I don't know, Bill, great shout. Some of the guests you're bringing onto this show, brother, I tell you, you're raising the bar and then some.
Well, I'll tell you, brother, I have enjoyed every minute of this, and I certainly hope that he will come back with us. And I'm going to take him up on visiting him in Brooklyn, and we're going to
you
play
better.
some good music, and we're going to eat some good pizza. So,
And I expect
That's
you
for
to
sure.
at least record your jamming session so we can listen to it on Warrior Mode.
I certainly hope so. And Lib and I might even come up with a song. You never know.
I'm going to say that's what we need. You need an actual theme song.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I
That's-
started playing our intro music, I thought to myself, oh, heavens.
And believe it or not, guys, I have a song in mind, and I'm going to run it by Liberty when I see him. And if we could do something with that, well, then we could make that our show music.
Bill, I tell you what, I've never seen you smiling this much in a long time, and that is brilliant. It is
Yeah,
brilliant
I mean,
because,
this it really brought great joy to me that we were able to have someone of his caliber to come on, and then have such a good dialogue, and everything was great and positive. And we again went past the surface, and we got into some, deep and heavy things as well with him. And so I'm overjoyed that we were able to, we praise God for it, able to make such a good connection with him.
I just think, Travis, with everything going on, in particular in the US right now, I think maybe it was probably really great it worked out this week, because we kind of took people's attention away from very, very tense times right now out on the streets around people. And maybe people need reminding that they can, get back to doing things that they enjoy, as opposed to getting dragged into this emotional quagmire. It's an absolute setup, and people are being dragged into this on purpose. And anything we can do to stop people getting drawn into a very volatile and dangerous situation where people are literally losing their lives now.
Yes.
I think probably, again, everything happens at the right time. I've always said that, and I think today was the right time for this show.
It was, because music is one of those things that can draw people together. It really does, and it has a great sense of healing and fond memories. That was why I was, listening to him talk about the very first time we heard the Beatles or saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. That moment, and you guys are the same way. I would guarantee you, Bill and Cam, you can remember one of your favorite songs. You can remember the very first time you heard it. And the minute you remember the first time you heard it, you can smell everything that was going on around
all
you.
your sensory stuff comes
everything,
back.
Yeah. It all comes together.
Big time.
Yeah. Just amazing.
Well, Bill,
and
look at Bill.
End our show tonight with, of course, we'll get our prayer list in and everything. We haven't forgotten you out there.
Look how happy you are, though, Bill. Come on,
prayer.
Enjoy it for a moment. Look at you. He's absolutely radiant, isn't he, Travis?
He is. He's glowing.
Yeah. No, it brought joy to me. It really did. I mean, his book brought joy to me in the sense that there were some things that we had in common, and then to see that God blessed him and turned his life around where it could have been disaster for him. He really, and same thing for me. I've been in things and situations in my life to where it could have shaped my life to have been absolute disaster, to where I could have ended up in prison or dead. And he had similar things. And so God really kind of took the wheel a little bit in that situation and brought deliverance and change and transformation. So I think that really got me more than anything in Liberty's book was, him having those lows and then God kind of turning it right back around and helping him to get back up.
Well, and what I found interesting, I'm sorry, Kevin.
No, you go, man.
On top of you. I was going to say, because Bill, about the professional relationship that I had with Charlie.
Yeah.
And, we kind of had that opportunity to make peace, but not the way that I wanted, not the way that I would like.
Yeah.
And so it was really reaffirming listening to Liv talk about how he was able to reach out and make peace with Billy.
Yeah, I think that was huge. I'm so happy for him. And even if they never play music together again, or even if they never see each other again, they have made peace and there's good feeling there. And so he can have that released off of his life.
Well, regardless of how long we live, life is just too short for that type of negativity and animosity.
I agree. It's a spiritual poisoning, and we cannot move forward in life until we release that. And the only way to release it is to forgive. And so this is why Jesus told Peter, Peter said, look, my brother is just driving me nuts. He's offending me over and over and over again. And Jesus told him, forgive, because forgiveness is every bit as much for us as for the person that we are forgiving. It's a cleansing, it's a release. So good for him. But Kev, go ahead. I know you wanted to say something.
Kev's gone. He disappeared. He's not even in his seat anymore.
The fire's still. Did he go?
I think he did.
He did go.
He did. I think maybe he went to put some logs on the fire. I don't know.
I had my prayer list screen up and I couldn't see the screen. Oh,
actually, man. I think he's got me on Tuesday night. We're going to be talking Mothman.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I always look forward to our shows on Sunday, and now you'll have a reoccurring role on his show during the week, and
through the week too.
It's all win-win stuff, Travis. And this is something that, like Kev has said so many times, I never anticipated us ever having a show like this, and then didn't anticipate the three of us, getting together like this for the show. But it's turned out to be such a blessing and something that I look forward to every single week.
It really is. For me, it's still broadcasting, but it's such a break from what I do Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And the chance to get on and actually do radio again.
Yeah. And now you can tell everybody tomorrow, hey, I hung out with Liberty Devitto yesterday.
Yeah. And, it was fun because this is the first, or the second entertainment interview that I've done in years, but I did one last week for Susan Bell with Eddie Perez, who Kev's going to be having on the show. Emmy-winning stunt coordinator and producer, and then now this. So it's been kind of fun to get back and talk about, some very, very real things, like Kev says, that bring some positive back to the table, because there is way too much negative.
Well, we all needed it. And, when Liberty was talking about Baltimore, and I steered him back there for a reason. And, he had some hard times in Baltimore. He did. He was there for a while, and he really did pay some dues there. And there was a story that came out a couple of days ago. Now, I was born in Baltimore and lived there. I live away from Baltimore now in Annapolis. And, but there was a story from a couple of days ago. This man's walking down the street, minding his own business, and then someone runs up with a brick and hits him in the back of the head and knocks him out. And it's just awful. I mean, these things are taking place everywhere, and I pray that God puts a stop to it soon.
Something has to stop somewhere, because it's quite scary where it ends if it keeps going the way it is.
And Kev, when you hit someone in the head with a brick, you could literally kill them.
Oh yeah.
And then the person fell face first to the pavement, so they could have been killed by the impact of the fall going face first. I mean, this is madness. This is an innocent person that had nothing to do with anything, just walking down the street, never knew that this individual came up from behind and hit him in the back of the head with a brick.
But that's what's happening here, Bill, is we have at the highest level of our government hatred, division, and animosity, and it's now becoming the normal way that people act.
Yeah, and the devil's loving every second of it.
It's been given sanction.
Yeah.
This is how you treat people.
So now you have this divide.
Yep.
And it's horrible. It's got to stop. And again, I'm going to say to anybody and everybody that would listen, treat others how you want to be treated. That's the bottom line. If you live by that, then you're not going to do these things. You won't even consider to do it, because you don't want somebody coming up from behind and hitting you in the back of the head with a brick. So stop it and just step back and take a deep breath and say, I would much rather love and do what I can to help someone than to try and harm them.
I couldn't have said it any better myself, Bill, to be honest with you.
No, but it would have sounded better because we have that Scottish brogue. If we could.
Very true. Very true.
Yes, take that, Kevin. Roll with it.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Bill can write the stuff, and Kev gets to read it, and it's great.
You see, perfect team, right? But between now and election time, whether there even is an election at this point, I'm quite.
I don't think there will be.
I'm open to the idea that it might be scuppered. I made this comparison the other day. Some people emailed to say I was ridiculous, but some people said I actually had a good point, and I'll get you guys to think about this. But forget America for a moment, and think of another time, not in the too distant past, when we heard about peaceful protesters who were getting persecuted by an evil dictator in power who never had legitimate elections, and how we have to form a coalition to go and rescue these peaceful protesters from all of this madness that's going on. It's exactly the same thing that happened with the Arab Spring that we're seeing now playing out in America. It really is. And how we got to there in such a short space of time is frightening. And
Yeah, it is,
people
Kev.
on both sides just need to stop. You just need to stop whatever side you're on. The fact you've picked a side, I've already got an
That's a
issue with that.
problem
Yeah,
first.
that's a problem
Yeah.
first and foremost. But even if you're wanting to get into that political arena, stop. Just stop for a moment and actually look at the people you're arguing with. And instead of just being triggered by left or right, look how much you've got in common. And I tell you one thing you do have in common, whether it's left or right, liberal Democrats over here, Tory, Labour, none of them work for any of you. None of them care one jot about any of this going on right now. Do you think they're bothered that people's businesses are getting burned down? No, they're looking how to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I think we need to come together and appreciate that the whole system, you talk about the mark of the beast. I think the whole political system around the world is the beast. It's all part of it,
It is a part of the beast system. I believe it 100%. And again, now that you've brought this up about mark of the beast, I'm urging people, don't get these things. Don't get them. Don't get them. This is, in my opinion, a part of that, and you will forever be changed. And furthermore, I believe that you will be eternally separated and your relationship with God will be severed because of it. I was just reading some things the other day and watching videos, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now, just like I've been saying for the last 3 years, that they are trying to legalize pedophilia, and the story is out now in California that they are doing just that. I knew it was coming. And so people called me crazy when I said that. You're crazy. There's no way anything like that would ever happen. Well, here we are. So this is the new normal, like you say, Kev. And so people better wake up. And this is where we have to take a step back and say, look, we have to disengage from this. And we really have to trust in God, because it's only God that's going to get us through these things. There's no man, there's no leader that's going to get us through this.
Absolutely. And Travis, to build on what Bill said there, so many people right now sharing around information about the sickest crimes imaginable. Much of the time, no evidence to back it up. But what I see happening, whether it's justified or whether it's way off the mark, the more you subject people to this type of information, it eventually, dare I say it, begins to normalize it. Because that shock factor goes out the window when you're hearing the more, shall we say, ridiculous elements of some of this non-research that people claim to be doing. And I think it can do more harm than good. At a time when we look at the numbers, there actually has been a lot of these bad, sick, pervert, satanic scum been rounded up. There's some good things happening right now. But I just feel, as great as it is to be able to share all the information at light speed, press of a button, we have to be responsible as well. And over the past 6 months to a year, people that I never even thought would look at this kind of topic now kind of they talk about it like it's just another thing. And it's gradually been normalized, hasn't it?
Well, it's part of a brainwash.
Well, it is. And I also think it comes back to something else, Kev, and that is, here the three of us are. We have a weekly talk show. We are not under the umbrella of any journalist or broadcast organization. That does not give us carte blanche or free rein to get on here and say things without substantiation.
Yeah.
And I think even more so on this show, when we talk about things, whether it's the supernatural, the paranormal, or whether it's talking to Liberty Devitto about his career, we need to be able to have our facts straight. We need to be able to substantiate everything, and we need to be in some form objective when we're talking. What I see in this country, and it saddens me, I see journalistic integrity going down the drain because we're not fact checking. We want to throw something out there as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
We want to be the first one to get a scoop. We want to be the first one to say something and break a story. So we're not taking the time to fact check. But even beyond that, what I see is that this country is facing, in my mind, the greatest internal struggle that we have faced since the Civil War.
Yeah.
We are literally tearing ourselves apart at the seam. And it sickens me, and it frustrates me, and it angers me, but it also makes me more passionate about wanting to do things right.
I agree. I'm in total agreement. I feel the same way. And boy, I just continue to pray that God's going to just create a breakthrough and come and bring peace on the earth. That's all I could do at this point. I mean, other than try and do anything and everything that I can for people on a daily basis. Other than that, I mean, I have to totally rely on my faith in God and ask him to please bring peace, and may he bring a miracle of peace, healing, and restoration on the earth, because outside of that, I don't see anything getting any better, or there's no man that's going to come and make this kind of change.
Yeah, you can't fix it. Travis can't fix it. I
No.
definitely can't fix it. I'm not even in America. We spoke about this before the show, Bill. It's so hard not to get dragged into any of the hot topics right now, but that's what you must do. Concentrate.
That's what I like about our show is we kind of steer, we'll talk about some things, but we're not going to get caught up in that. And we're going to try and be a blessing to everybody.
I think
and
people
give
need
the people
this.
something good.
Yeah, in some ways it rounds out the week. It gives people a kind of place to come to escape what they've just gone through for the past 6 days. And on the other side of that, kind of prepares, I can only speak for myself, but it gets me ready for the next week.
Yeah,
to go back
no, I'm
into,
with you, Kev. I totally agree.
Yeah, because especially doing what we do now, so much of the information is weaponized to begin with, both the lies and the facts. And then add on that, you've got the disinfo, the misinfo, the 24/7 social media dopamine craving feed that people are so bought into, whether they appreciate it or not. And I can talk about it because it's like being a recovering addict. I used to be there posting selfies. I used to be there wanting to be the first to get my story up. Not because I wanted people to know, not now that I think about it. I used to kid myself on that's what it would be about, but in reality, you're after that dopamine, it's clicks. You want that sensational headline. You want to make up the most ridiculous thing about somebody like Tom Hanks, for example. You want to make it so sensational that everyone's going to click on it. But what are you really doing there? And that's how I've been able to. That's how I've been able to step back, and I don't care how many clicks we get anymore. I'm quite happy at the fact I'm a very wee show, because I'd rather do quality over the quantity and the click chasing and the dopamine chasing and having to be with the next big trending conspiracy. It's horrible, folks. And I think people that listen to this show, people that follow me, I think they're all in the same place. I think we've all been going through this now for too long, and I think we have appreciated that, yep, there's absolutely conspiracies in the world. There's some of the darkest things that go on, but not everything that you see online is true. And most of all, don't get dragged into the point where literally your relationships with your family and loved ones are breaking down. I see this more and more now, especially around that 17th letter, where people are basically losing their families.
But it's all a tactic from the devil. So again,
crazy.
This is right out of his playbook. Division. He's the author of division and confusion. So these are divide and conquer tactics right out of his playbook.
So, Bill, what you do now is you take us into your final prayer list. What have we got left?
We'll do the prayer list, and we'll have our final prayer and blessing and cleansing for everybody. And this has just been an amazing show. I knew it was going to be great, but I really didn't think it was going to be as good as it has turned out to be.
We're getting longer and longer every week.
I know. I was going to say, do you know what's going to be really fun is if we ever decide to do a best of segment? How are you going to choose? How are you going to choose the best of?
There's going to be lots to choose from, that's for sure. So,
and we can't say anything, but we've still got big guests coming up. We're still working on some, aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Nick Redfern has committed. I just need to get with you, Kev, on and multiple dates for multiple shows. He's willing to do several.
Fantastic. And
Oh,
we'll have
and-
Stan Gordon joining us too on the 20th. So
I've
Okay.
got Eddie Perez, Emmy award-winning producer, up for another Emmy this month, as a matter of fact, for Shameless, stunt coordinator in a comedy. We've got him lined up. Just need to get date and time for that. Anna
Fantastic.
Martin, the Martin family tragedy, her experiences with extraterrestrials and demonic entities. She's agreed. It's going to be we've got some good stuff lined up.
Yes.
fantastic.
Definitely in the right place at the right time. That's what
And
I think.
I think you and I are talking Tuesday night, right? This Tuesday?
I think it is Tuesday. Yeah, I think
I
so.
think it is Tuesday.
In
Yeah.
fact, I better check that right now, just so I make sure. Bill.
I saw it on my calendar.
Yeah, Bill, you take us away, Bill. You go for it.
All right. Well, I'm going to start with the prayer list. And I want to thank all of you out there for hanging with us. And I hope you enjoyed Liberty as much as we did. And we've got another lengthy prayer list here, and we'll get right to it. Father, I thank you and praise you for providing just a wonderful time for us during this show, and such a great interview and friendship and dialogue with Liberty. It truly was a blessing, Father. And I pray that it was a blessing not only to Kev and Travis and I, but to everyone out there that was watching and listening. And I ask that you bless them, Father, with everything that it is that they may be needing. And Father, please, as always, I ask that you always work through us to be a blessing to others and a shining example of your love, mercy, and goodness. Thank you, Father. I praise you forevermore in Jesus' name. And here's the prayer list for this week. I want to pray for my cousin, John Harvey. He tore a tendon in one of his hips, and I pray for very speedy recovery and quick healing for him, and praying for my assistant, Melinda, who is having some trouble right now. We pray for complete and total healing miracle for her. Also praying for Lisa Stem, a dear friend of mine. My wife and I have known her for many years, and she had a massive heart attack and is on a ventilator currently. And we pray for a healing miracle for her. And my dear friend, Walt Lohman, is having some cardiac issues. We pray that God will bless him with a complete and total healing miracle. Patty Altabelli, we ask for healing miracle for her. She's really been through a lot, and she has to schedule another surgery, and we pray for her. May God bless her and heal her with a complete and total healing miracle. Marianne Kearns Collier, Tanya McCullough, friend of the show. We pray for Summer. We pray for Denise Naranjo and her family. We pray for Tom Walker, DeJarlis, the Bergstrom family, the Nuno family, Gail Stahl, Sue Beckner, Jose Velez. May God bless them all with complete and total healing miracles and everything that they are needing. Marisol Vasquez. Marisol has recently had a throat surgery, and we pray that God will bless her with a complete healing miracle. Very sad news from Deborah Jock Shea. We prayed for her grandbaby, baby Sydney, and I'm sad to say that baby Sydney has passed. And we pray for blessing and healing and comfort for Deborah and her family. We pray for Valentina Lombard Wiley, another dear friend of mine, and we pray for a complete and total healing miracle for her. For Glenn McEwing, Robert DeBartolo, we're praying for Blake, who is currently in the ICU. We ask for total healing miracles for him and for everybody that we're mentioning here. Earl Oldham, Margaret O, Vicky Dobbins, Patrick D, Gail Groner-Cover, and Kathy Stewart. We pray for complete and total healing miracles for all these people. May God bless them with everything that they are needing. And now we'll get to the final part of our show, the final prayer blessing and cleansing here. And I pray that this will hold you over for a week until we reconvene next week. And may the power of God work through me to help you in and whatever it is that you might be needing. I want all of you to just close your eyes, relax, take a deep breath, and let's let God be God. And I want you to focus on whatever it may be that is a problem or situation in your life right now. And that could be in a variety of ways. It could be something from the past, and it could be something that's currently taking place. It could be anything from addiction to curse, hex, vex, spell, demonic oppression, stronghold, attachment, whatever it may be, blocks, whatever it may be. I want you to focus on it and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in. And I'm going to pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is done in heaven. And give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forevermore. In Jesus' name. Now, I want all of you to see God's magnificent light swallowing up all of that darkness and garbage. And I want you to see Jesus and angels coming. And I want you to start to feel a rush of empowerment. And as you're doing that, I'm going to say this. Father, by your mighty power and your mighty and holy name in Jesus' name, I bind and break the power over Satan and all his demons, all his fallen angels, all his unclean spirits, and all his demonic powers and principalities, and all demons that are assigned to anyone that may be joining us on this broadcast right now. And all curses, hexes, vexes, and spells as well. And I bind and rebuke all these things, and I command them to depart at once. And I ask for your giant warrior angels to take those things into custody and carry them off and deposit them back into the pits of hell where they belong. Father, we give you the praise and the thanks and the glory for everything forevermore. In Jesus' name it is so. Everybody take one last deep breath in and really exhale and push out forcefully and let it all leave you. And I want you to feel lighter. I want you to feel blessed, and I want you to feel empowered. I want you to be in that level of warrior mode, faith, strength, and courage. Be committed to God, because if we're committed to God, we are committed to excellence. And if we are committed to excellence, then we refuse to lose. So I pray that each and every day will be a victory for you by the power of God. And Kev, that'll take us out for another week here. It's been great, truly has, and can't wait until next week.
Always great, Bill. I can't thank you enough for getting Liberty for today's show. I think myself, Travis, we thoroughly enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
The audience, they seem to love it as well. Just an all-round great guy, and I like that, what you said there. Refuse to lose.
Yep.
That should be on a t-shirt or something, Travis, right? Faith,
we could get on
strength,
that.
courage, warrior mode, refuse to lose.
Refuse to lose. Yep.
I like that.
I know a guy. I could get some of those done.
Yeah, see, it's all coming together.
We're gonna have to do
Bill.
it then.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Look at Bill. He's away to jam with Liberty. I
I know.
That is going to be surreal for me to step in, to be alongside of that guy, which I guess he would probably be to my right and behind me. I can't even really fathom that right now.
Now, Bill, I want you to remember how happy I am for you. And I want you to be as equally happy for me when I get Elon Musk on my show.
I knew he was going there.
You knew I would get
You
you. Knew.
I knew we were going to come to Muskie.
See, at one point you always know I get you, but thank you so much, guys. This has been brilliant. Each week, Warrior Mode just gets better and better. It's holiday weekend over in the US, so we kind of had lower numbers tonight. But I think this show will be timeless because it'll be re-uploaded onto Bill's channel.
Yep.
And Liberty Devitto, people will just check it out for that name alone. But if you're new to Warrior Mode and maybe you just came along because of Liberty, I would love for you to check us out again next week to see what we get up to here. We're all about bringing people together, and not just people that fly under a Christian banner. We're about bringing people
Correct.
together, not separating people because of different ideas or different ways of looking at things. Too much of that going on in the world right now. And if you take nothing else from the show, just remember faith, strength, and courage. Warrior mode. Every week, right here, same time, same place. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless.